The Cobbler and the Elves, as told by Brandy Chase. Illustrated by Aaron Vaganos. Not so long ago, a cobbler lived with his wife above their shoe shop. Even though this cobbler was a hard-working fellow, he did not sell very many shoes. People were buying factory-made shoes instead of handmade ones. One night, the cobbler sat down at his bench to cut shoes from his last scrap of leather. When he finished cutting, he took off his glasses, rubbed his eyes, and then said to his wife, "I'm too tired to finish these shoes tonight." His wife said, "Rest now. Tomorrow you will turn this leather into a fine pair of shoes and sell them too." The cobbler winked a weary eye at his wife and said, "All we can do now is hope for the best." He left the unfinished shoes on his workbench and went to bed. The next day, the cobbler woke bright and early, ready to work. To his surprise, he found perfectly finished shoes in place of the leather he had left the night before. Astonished, the cobbler and his wife looked around the room. Apart from the shoes, there was no sign anyone had been there at all. The shoes sold straight away for much more than the cobbler expected. He now had enough money to buy leather to make 2 more pairs of shoes. That night the cobbler cut the leather before bed, planning to finish the shoes the next day. This time he woke to discover 2 pairs of perfectly finished shoes. Again, they sold for more than expected. The cobbler was able to purchase enough leather for 4 more pairs of shoes. And so it went for some time. Every night the cobbler cut the leather. Every morning he woke to discover perfectly finished shoes. Every day the shoes sold for more than expected. Every day he was able to buy more leather. The cobbler and his wife soon sold enough shoes to live without worry. One evening the cobbler's wife said, "Our lives are much better now. I wonder who has been helping us all this time." The cobbler winked a cheery eye at his wife and said, "I don't know about you, but I'm not the slightest bit sleepy. Let's wait up and see what happens." The cobbler and his wife crept down the stairs, blew out their candle, and waited. At midnight, 2 tiny elves, dressed only in rags, came in through a crack in the window. The elves went straight to work, stitching and wrapping and tapping, zip-zoom fast. When the shoes were finished, the elves frolicked and pranced in a circle, chanting, "We 2 cobblers work late at night, still every stitch is stitched just right." Then they scampered out again. "My goodness," said the cobbler with gratitude, "what can we do to thank them?" The next day, the cobbler's wife made the elves clothes from brightly colored cloth with neat little stitches and pretty buttons. The cobbler made them smart shoes with long pointed toes. That night, the cobbler and his wife laid out the gifts, then waited as before to see what would happen. The elves arrived at midnight. At first they were astonished to find the clothes and shoes instead of leather, but soon laughed with joy. They put on the gifts, then frolicked and pranced in a circle, chanting, "We were cobblers, yes, it's true, but now our cobbling days are through." Then they scampered out through the window. The cobbler and his wife never saw the elves again, but thanks to their help lived a long, happy life free of worry.
The end.